point in time faced issues with regards to the justice system. You had an issue, you went to the courts, maybe you reported your issue, but you're still fighting for it. You haven't found solutions. So share with us your experiences. The hashtag is Morning at NTV. That's on Twitter. You can also stream us live NTV Uganda. That's on Facebook and YouTube pages. And so in studios to talk about that and how best you can access user-friendly justice is Mr. Richard Nsumba, who is the Programs Manager of Hague Institute for Innovation of Law. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Thank you too. Next
to him, I have Mr. Brian Ndiaguma, who is the Business Development Manager at HIL, which is the Hague Institute for Innovation and Law. Thank you so much for joining us as well.
Thank you very much.
Let's look at the justice system in the country. Hague Institute is known for doing a lot of research with regards to that. Why is it failing, seemingly failing? When you do your research, what comes to the fore?
Yeah, thank you very much. Justice is a very complicated area, and it may have issues from an individual perspective, but it can have issues at a country level and issues at a global level. So it depends on how you want to define that failure. But in many occasions, we have found that people have used conventional methods of accessing justice centuries way back to date. And there is a changing dynamics within society that needs to address many of the changing dynamics within society in terms of providing access to justice. So it is no longer about going to court alone, or how you go to court and face a judge. It is more about how you make the service user-friendly, how you make the person who needs to access the service actually benefit from it. It is no longer about delivering the service. It's also concerned about who demands for that service and how best are you going to offer it.
For a very long time, justice has been known to be a tool that can only be accessed by the less, the few who can afford it, and the less fortunate who are vulnerable cannot afford it. If you don't have the money, struggle with your own issues. So, Mr. Brian, let's talk about that. Let's talk about innovations in the justice system, what Hague is pushing for, such that we get to that point by 2030, which is your target, that over 150 million get to access justice. In terms of innovations, what strategies do you have?
Yeah, I'll begin with a very familiar story. About 6 years ago, when Barefoot Law took to Facebook, everyone thought these guys were crazy. How do you dispense legal support over the internet, over a social media platform like Facebook? Right now, Barefoot Law has over 300,000 followers. Every day they serve about 2,000 people, online. I think this is where we want to go. This is the kind of solutions that we want to see. And this is where HIL has its interest, scouting out for those most promising justice solutions and innovations and scale them through our Justice Entrepreneurship School, through the grants that we give to these solutions. And this is what we've been doing for the last 5 years.
Just break it down for us in terms of attaining that target by 2030.
Yes.
Innovations, how do you hope to implement the same?
Yeah, so we have a global call. How do we get the 150 million target? We have a global call that goes out every year, and this gives us access to over 400 applicants almost every year. We believe that through solutions like Barefoot Law or Lawyers for Farmers or Evidence and Methods Lab that are reaching hundreds of thousands of people, we will be able to reach millions of people through all these solutions. So the 150 million mark is a combination and also a compound effect of us supporting these solutions to reach all these people. If Barefoot Law helps 2,000 people every day, these 2,000, if we break it down to one person, they could have just helped one family of maybe 4 members avert a big land dispute. They could have helped one family that has a problem with domestic violence or family injustice, avert, another big problem that would have found itself in the courts of law.
Let's talk about your engagements with the people. Of course, now we're in Uganda with respect with us Ugandans. When you go on ground, what's your strategy? Do you first approach the research backing that you have with just empowering people with, the knowledge on how to best access justice? Is that it?
Yeah, we very much have an approach that starts from data. Mm-hmm. So we believe that at every moment, when we are to understand the justice journeys of the users of these systems in place, we need evidence of what is in place. So when we get to do these surveys, normally we do the justice needs and satisfaction surveys in each country where we operate. We operate in more than 15 countries, and that's how we should have the 150 million people, not only from Uganda, but from elsewhere. Mm-hmm. And when this evidence is gathered, we have experts of various kinds that assess this information and create an understanding of the user needs and where really innovations are needed to ensure that not only us providing solutions, but that even the people out there who have solutions can be sieved through, and you see those that are more scalable, those that are affordable, and those that are acceptable. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, we know that out of the issues that Ugandans grapple with, family justice is one of them. Mm-hmm. And under family justice, we have issues to do with separation, divorce. Actually, based on the report that you published on your platforms, 45% of Ugandan men have children out of their marriages. And this has a big issue. And actually, this puts Uganda at the 4th position out of 40 countries that HEAL surveyed. Is it a cultural issue, and why is it so hard for these women and men as well? Because we know even women have issues and men, become victims. Is it a cultural issue, and how best can this be sorted in terms of access to justice? Because we know still under the same survey, you said that women and men alike, especially women, grapple with getting their partners to support their children. So what are we dealing with?
Well, it's quite a complicated issue and subject because there is a lot of cultural influence in that, because we are traditionally a polygamous society. And in many ways, when we look at the way people behave in relationships within our country, there seems to be little commitment onto relationships for those who have not been properly nurtured. Mm-hmm. So while cultures were promoting polygamy, they had systems of ensuring that really a polygamous family has ways and norms in which it lives in that setting. At the moment, the family ties seem to be loosened. The clan influence is loosening. The religious backing is loosening. The state doesn't provide a lot in terms of family support. If you go to communities, you wonder what social welfare services there for children. And in many cases, children who are in need of support and care are actually seen as victims in many situations, but in most cases the justice system looks at them as perpetrators, as wrongdoers, and sometimes they're incarcerated. So it is a chain of broken systems that needs to be looked at, and I think it needs to be looked at from a system approach. And for us as HEAL, our major focus, having gotten this data, is to see how we engage the state as partners, and we are more engaging with the justice law and order sector. We are also ensuring that we work a lot with justice leaders within the country. Especially the Chief Justice has been very supportive, but we want to see a leadership that owns this data, understands the dynamics of the country, and that when they're making policy decisions, they're informed by what actually is on ground. And we believe that this data will be used to influence a lot of programming for government, and in a way, with such evidence, it may take time, but at least that we are on the right track.
Okay, all right. Right, but I'd like you to come in on this one. You as Hill, you have accused the justice system, which is true, to be totally formalistic. Procedures of gaining justice being unduly long and delayed. The process is long and so actually it's draining for most of the people. So with regards to you engaging the state and them being able to warm up to innovations that will make these cases move at a faster rate, what's the response like, and how soon are we likely to see them implement your proposals in terms of innovation?
Well, I want to first begin by clearing and saying that it's not an accusation. It's a report. It's a finding, and this is not unique to Uganda. It's unique to many other states, that we have been in, and maybe we don't blame them because that's the nature of the legal ecosystem. So what Hill is proposing through our various activities that we do is that we can find a way to maneuver these long bureaucracies and make them more user-friendly for the citizens, for the stakeholders. And this is where we bring in all these innovations that we work with. So I'll give an example.
Yes.
The lawyers for farmers. We have 80% of our population using agriculture as a source of income. And over 50% of these are in rural areas, save for the people who are doing urban farming, So all the rest that are in rural areas find it very difficult to solve cases of trespass, neighbor disputes, or even land management. What these lawyers for farmers have done is to create a platform that connects onto the farmers' mobile phones, these small feature phones, and there they can access a lawyer. They can get access to information in real time, information on trade, information on land management, information on labor disputes, and information on family justice. This would save that particular farmer 30 days of trying to find a lawyer. That's what we're talking about.
Right.
So once you have those 30 days saved, it means that you have prevented a looming justice problem. That would have. We went to Luwero and we found someone who told us that hadn't these ladies come, me and my family, we were ready to go and attack the other people.
Wow.
Yes, and we have these people in the pictures and the clinics that these ladies have done. So that's how we want to help the government and all the legal players to cut short on some of these bureaucracies.
Okay.
We only want to bring the most important, let me call them cases, to the courts of law. I'll give another example. The West Nile Mediation Center, which is in Arua. These have paramediators that are spread across the West Nile region that move within the communities and solve cases even before they get to the courts of law. What have we, because mediation is not anything new, for those who have been in the legal ecosystem, they know.
Yeah.
But what we have done with West Nile Mediation Center is to help them get a business model that helps them to scale from one place in Arua where we found them to around the West Nile region. Help them find means by which the people that they serve can keep them sustainable.
Okay, and when you say that you actually helped these farmers access lawyers, something that would take them over 30 days to do you also engage these lawyers on rates? Because that's where the big issue comes. Many say that, man, I don't want to even think of a lawyer. I cannot afford them. Do you engage lawyers with regards to them just giving reasonable rates and affordable rates to the less fortunate as well?
Yes. So what we are doing for the legal ecosystem is something that Europe has seen maybe the last 10 years. Of course, the first thing that will come is that there will be a disruption on how legal rates are made and how these lawyers have been paid. But we're saying it's also a game of numbers. If you have many people that are willing to pay a small fee, then it's as good as finding Brian and Richard as your two clients in a month who are paying you, let's say, I don't know, $800, $1,000, you know. But you can also get the same $1,000 if you serve about 50 people. And this, of course, I know that some of the innovations that we've worked with have had to explain themselves a lot to the Uganda Law Society, which has, in the end, been supportive to the Law Council and fellow lawyers that they have met at some of these events that we host. But in the long run, I think that all this will make sense for them. If indeed the lawyers are committed to serving the people, in the long run, all these models will also work out for them.
Okay, so I'm sure there's someone watching today and they want to get into that, you know, platform whereby they can access all this information at their phone sets, you know, just at the click of a button, which most of, you know, people that you have engaged with have benefits to, like you said, the farmers. So how do they get onto that platform where they have all the information to empower them on how to go about the justice processes and also how to access some of these services? How does it work, or how do you intend on making that work for a big majority?
Yeah, well, of course, dissemination of such information is very vital and critical for us as well. Much of this information is available online. Innovatingjustice.com is one of the websites where you can have a lot of this information on the innovations that are in place. But we have also gone deeper to think of how we bring this closer to the people. At the moment, we are developing a justice dashboard. That justice dashboard is cutting across the justice and law order sector of government to see how we can consolidate and synchronize all the data that is out there and put it on the same screen for whoever is able to access this information and have a glimpse of the trends of where we are at and what needs to be done about justice. And that we think can influence a lot on where the service is, where do we need to see more improvement and things of that kind. But even further, from our research, we document best practices because we think that there is need for us to look at what has been done good and well and better by others in similar situations, document that and disseminate it to the users. So we want to have a professional and user version of the various best practices on resolving family disputes that we have captured around the country and from a lot of literature review we have done internationally, so that we have in place a catalog that can be available in a print version, in a user version that is audio, and in translated versions as well.
Exactly.
So we are going to have a dissemination strategy around the country. We hope to have about 5 dialects in which it will be translated, so that really these best practices that have seen to work in cases of divorce, in cases of separation, in cases where we need to seek more custody, health for children, education for children, wrangles among couples. There are a lot of things to do with communication, to do with how you cater for the belongings of children. Sometimes we don't think that is important. And there's a lot of learning that we've gathered that many people out there take for granted. But when you're into such a problem, you may easily get frustrated, you may easily get angered, you may easily assault, instead of actually resolving the issue in a different way. So much of this we are putting it in context, and we are using innovators like Evidence and Methods Lab to see how they can make even a visualization of much of this content. We know people may not be good at reading. So even those who can't read shall be able to get illustrations of the same information.
And audios as well.
And audios as well.
How soon are we likely to see this?
Well, we have in place a core group that is going to review the draft in place. I think by October and November we shall be having more or less, a final version, and we think that early next year we should be able to disseminate it.
All right, let's talk about the Innovation Justice Conference that is scheduled to take place on the 28th of this month. What is the conference all about, and what should we be expecting? Right.
This is our 3rd conference in a row. And this one is much more different from the one of last year and 2016, because now we have a bigger program in Uganda, Justice Innovations Uganda, and we will merge our different components that we're doing in this conference, and whoever is going to attend that we have invited and those that have signed up on Eventbrite will be able to appreciate what we've been doing. Part of which Richard has talked about, the Justice Leadership Core Group, the data team that has been, that will showcase the dashboard and what has been found out, and I'll leave that to Richard to explain it.
Okay.
But I want to talk about the innovations. If you're out there and you've signed up to attend the conference, or you're planning on signing up, this is what you should expect. That on Friday at Hotel Africana, you will not only see what has transpired since HEAL started working here. You'll also see the 10 of the most promising innovations for next year. And these 10 are going to be competing for a final prize. These 10 will make demonstrations of how their innovations work. They'll also show us traction, some of the users they have now and what they have been able to achieve. In the same conference, we'll have also the innovations that have been with us in the last 3 to 4 years. And they'll be in the audience. One of them will actually make a short presentation towards the end, the winner for last year. And for us, this conference is to show the Ugandan community that even the legal ecosystem can be improved through these technologies, through these methodologies that are coming up.
All right. How best will this benefit the justice system in the country? Because what people are saying, even on social media as I sample them, is that the justice system is a representation of the old folks. So moving forward, how will this innovation really work? Because most of them are not open to innovations and technology as it evolves.
I think it's all about a mindset.
Okay.
And we need to see that change of mindset. It doesn't matter whether they're old folks or it's the young guys. It's all about having that same attitude about justice. And as HEAL, we have what we call measuring justice. So we want to find out what is it that is in place before we try to get biased in any way. So when we measure that justice, it is able to give us indicators of what procedures there are in that journey to justice, and where frustrations happen. And from those frustrations, then we want to innovate ways of maneuvering the same procedure around, or bringing in a new procedure altogether. And that is done through pilots that seem to work, and when they work, it gives a good evidence for those who are decision makers, those who influence policy, those who run programs of government, to see that such innovations work. At the moment, when you look at the judiciary, they will talk of small claims procedure as an improvement, and they call it an innovation. So the language of innovation has started capturing them as well. And we believe that several instances like diversion of children are going to happen a lot of times, and this is already influencing a lot of changes in the sector.
Okay, we will be looking out for that. Everyone is yearning for a change and for the justice system to just evolve and get to a point whereby everyone can access justice, and the unduly, slow processes are then, fast-tracked. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming in studios and for shedding the light. Of course, we'll be checking up on you for the conference and the outcomes of that particular conference, the winners as well, the innovators that will be able to bag that particular position. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
That has been the discussion. You're welcome. That has been the discussion on Kickstarted segment. Keep on sharing with us your experiences with the justice system in the country. Of course, they'll be sure to look at those and address them as well. That has been it for Morning at 10 TV. Be sure to catch up same time, same place tomorrow from 6:30 to 9 a.m. My name is Malaki Vilodera. Have yourselves a blessed day.
watching Morning at NTV.